Welcome to Clean and Comfort. Today is June 17th, 2020. Today we have our regular guests. We have Dr. Linda Carr. We have Liz. We have Jeff on board, and myself, Dion. So today we're going to discuss lessons learned and key takeaway from our, journey through COVID. So, Liz, could you start us out with some of the things we've learned and why do you think it's important for what we've learned?
So, hello, everybody. Again, another week passed us by. Wednesday, and our podcast seems to come up so quickly. It's good to be here with everybody tonight.
Welcome, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think one of the most important things is a well-trained team and a solid cleaning program with training tools and procedures that can be modified quickly. And I think those things are really important because none of us expected a COVID-19 pandemic or any pandemic. But if your team was well trained, had the tools and procedures and everything to support a great environmental services infection control program, they probably fared better than some other teams that were not so set up. What do you think about that, Dion?
I totally agree. And another thing I find very, very important is what we discussed last week, alternative cleaning solutions. Having something quickly to turn to if we're having trouble getting our regular cleaning solutions due to an overly need from different industry of the same products. I think having options is very important. Jeff?
Let me say thanks for having me back. I really enjoyed joining this group last week and talking about some of those alternative products and thinking outside the box when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting. Very glad to be with you guys again. This time, I was thinking about environmental services as a whole, and I think we're in a situation where if we didn't get respect before, we should be getting respect now. When you think about the level of work, the level of detail, and the level of risk that was taken on by environmental services professionals and hospitals across the country, and it's really showing that a hospital can't run without them. And I think from our respective locations where we work, we seem to understand that our value is recognized and appreciated. But I can speak from my progression in my career working in a lot of different hospitals that it's not the case in other healthcare systems and hospital systems. And there is no way to beat this or to flatten the curve without the work being done by EVS technicians, housekeepers, even let's call them for what they are, infection prevention specialists. And I think we're also going to be looking at that, going forward. I'm not going to say if another pandemic happens. I'll say when, because we're caught off guard by this one, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we hear of this. That we really need to be thinking about infection prevention as a whole, not just cleaning. Cleaning is a vital role of that, but the function of our department is to really help control that environment in order to keep it as germ-free as possible.
That is so true. That is so true. Dr. Carr, what have you learned so far?
What I have learned is what I was always knowledgeable of it, but I'm hoping that what many people can learn from this process is the very importance of environmental services. Often when I teach different areas in the classroom and I ask students who may be interested in environmental services and just hazardous control, no one ever thinks about how important it is. They're like, no, they minimize the importance. And I believe, hopefully, everyone else realizes that without a clean hospital or environmental services, as I remember, you all are the beginning and the end of care within the hospital setting. And so if you do not start the process, then the ending of the process will not occur, or the process will not occur. It is very important that environmental service is involved because you all have to make sure that the place is properly prepared for our patients.
I think also one of the unintended outcomes of all of what we all just said about how important environmental services is, and our profession really should be respected more than it is by many people. But also, I think our family gained a newfound respect for what we do. All of the media, the community support, the pictures on the news really brought home to our families, our friends, our neighbors, what we do every day. We leave the house really early in the morning and come home late in the evening, on what we do as leaders for environmental services and what our team members do. So I think that was a really great, if anything, positive, and we saw a lot of positive things come out of this crisis. And some of them are our team members really developed a friendship, a partnership. They learned that you really have to be able to work in a team environment, and they really have a heightened level of engagement, I feel, for my team and for other professional environmental service leaders and frontline team members. I've heard the same thing. How are you guys feeling about that, and what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And Liz and I had a discussion before the podcast. And one of the things I said to her I want to mention is how our CEO, our boss, our top boss of the hospital, made me feel safe, made me feel like wanting to come to work, because he's going to make sure that we are all right. Whatever he does, he's going to make sure that we are taken care of. And it's nice to have a boss so you can want to come to work. And they always talk about bosses and having bosses to be, able to nurture you, and even if you're one of the smartest people, just making sure that you're thanked and congratulated, and making sure that they let you know that they care. So I want to say that, for where I work right now, thank you, my boss, for taking care of us.
That's great, Dion. I agree. I really think we were supported. We were kept informed. We were taken care of. We had our healthcare system take care of us with personal protective equipment, with scrubs, with food, and supported us emotionally, physically, and really promoted self-care, because that was really important. When you're pushing yourself, working longer hours, your team members and the stress level is definitely increased. Some healthcare systems and some environmental service leaders might forget to mention about how to sustain your energy and emotional wellness. So I think that all of what you're saying is so important. We were very fortunate.
I'm going to second about that, about the emotional health wellness. I'm going on 20 years and working in healthcare, and I got to tell you that some of the stuff that I saw in my facility when this was at its peak. I had never seen anything like that before. When we were really strapped and we had a lot going on, I came to work in scrubs. I wanted to be on the front line with my team. It was very vital to me because I wanted to support them. Can't support the operation from the office. You have to be on the front line helping.
Yes.
It galvanizes your staff. It shows that you care, and it adds an extra set of hands to lighten the load. But on some of the units, seeing these patients, seeing how sick they were, and I don't mind sharing. I had a personal moment. I was helping to collect sharps containers from these rooms,
Right.
and I had to, in order for me to access one in an ICU room, I had to move a patient on a bed just a foot, a little more than a foot, just so I could reach the bin. And this patient was hooked to a ventilator and 6 different IV pumps. And I unlocked the bed and I pulled it forward a little bit just so I could reach that sharps bin that was on the floor because it was tucked away behind the bed. And at that time, the patient had rolled over, and the sound that came out of that ventilating tube that he was trying to make, because I think he was somewhat semi-conscious, I'll never forget that sound as long as I live. And it really affected me because I thought I hurt this patient. I thought I had harmed him. And I had to take a moment afterward. I had to, isolate myself and just be by myself just so I could recoup myself. And, if anyone who says, well, you should only worry about the doctors and nurses who are dealing with this, no. We're right there on the front lines. We saw it too. And in emotional health and well-being, being able to find ways to cope and to deal with stress, deal with the anxiety, deal with the uncertainty and the fear, that's so vital. And that's great resources to help. And we still do, because this isn't going to go away. It's not like we can look at our numbers and we see them going down. That's fantastic. But this is going to linger with us for a long time, and we need to be able to take care of ourselves. And we have the means to do that, and I'm very grateful.
I watch the television and I watch how the southern states are now lit up in red and how it's affecting the southern states. And I'm thinking of, all of these different cars and all of these different people traveling from south to north. Is this thing going to come back to New York? Because I know a lot of in the southern states they're not practicing wearing the PPEs as we are, and it's very troubling. And what I've learned is you have to wear your PPE. You have to wash your hands. You have to sanitize, and it's important to do that. What I also learned is, back to support. I learned, I think, what Jeff said. You have to support your team. You have to go on the floors. You have to, tell them, pause for a second. Let's talk for a second. Take them away from that stress, from going into that room every day. Have a 5-minute conversation. Help them, help them move the trash. Help them move sharps. Help them do anything. Move linen. Help your porters. Help your guys. Because the more stress you take off their back, you'll see them tomorrow, and you'll make sure that they won't make a mistake from that stress. It is so important. I think we were all in scrubs up on the floors, and it's so important to support the team. Dr. Carr, were you saying something?
I was going to say one of the things I hope I remember speaking to someone before, and Dion, you and I we grew up in a family where we respect no matter what title the person has. And I remember speaking to someone who said, I build relationships with the janitor before I build one with the CEO. And so, unfortunately, people don't realize that those who are doing the foundational work are actually the ones who